Hello and welcome to the weekly review and Star Citizen news, each week bringing you the latest headlines in the Star Citizen and then analysing the week's news in a bit more detail, but in a quick and digestible way. The news this time is for the week ending the 10th of January 2016. The main headline this week is that Star Citizen Alpha PTU patch 2.1D is out, and it's really good. A lot of the performance and crash issues that have plagued us have been addressed, and among them, other things that were fixed were blacking out regularly even when G-Safe was on, getting catapulted into space when you're trying to pick up a submachine gun, assorted issues with the Freelancer, and as I said, lots of the client-side crash issues and performance improvements have been implemented. Missile-wise as well, there's a little change. You can only fire 2 missiles simultaneously, except if you're on the 325A, in which case you can fire all of your missile targeting systems. Pew pew pew! Anyone that has a game package has access to the PTU at the moment, and it is the best PTU patch I have ever played. Let's have a more in-depth look at the week's other news and questions answered by looking at the notes from 10 for the Chairman, Around the Verse, and Reverse the Verse. So, to start with, 10 for the Chairman, episode 74. Chris Roberts answered a variety of questions. Capital ship persistence. In the full game, there will be a variety of safe areas where you can log out with your capital ships so that they won't be stolen, raided, or blown up. Beds will allow you to log off safely in the verse on smaller ships, and they want to do something similar for larger ships too, but it's yet to be fully decided. Ship customization and configuration in the mini PU. We will be able to customize our ships and loadouts with rec and UBC items in the PU. It's a really high priority for them. Early this year, we will have customization, as well as some form of persistence, and more of a shopping experience. At some point, the Voyager Direct store on the website will be fully phased out. In regards to buying and selling used ships, at NPC dealerships, only new ships will be available, at least in the first iterations of the game. Old ships can be sold or traded into them. Longer term, there will probably be used ship dealerships, but you'll be able to sell and trade used ships with other players from launch. That's directly with players, but there may be some rules and taxes governing that. There are plans for stealth gameplay for the first-person shooter elements of the game. There are gadgets that can aid in stealth and distraction too. You'll be able to crawl around in vents, and the general combat style of the first-person shooter is a lot more tactical than other first-person shooter games, so you'll be able to do a lot of different types of stealth gameplay, whether that's more tactical in a group, or maybe even knifing your way out around a station. Question was asked regarding privateers. As a freelancer, you may be hired for various different jobs and means. There might be opportunities to be a privateer in, like, Jean space, either for the Jean or humans, for example. There will be cool gameplay for many different styles, so yes, you might be able to play legalized pirates or privateers, but they're not entirely sure how that will be fleshed out yet. In regards to automated landings on planets with landing zones, there will be programmed virtual tunnels and paths for you to land in, which you can try and land in manually if you want. If you divert from that flight path though, an automated system would take your ship over and land you safely. On unpopulated planets with no landing zones, you will have a much more free-form experience, where you can kind of land where you want. There will be points of interest, wildlife, and specific missions on those planets too. They're also trying to work out more ways to reward subscribers. Rec, loaner ships, and ICC Stellar Surveyors in-game perk is also being considered. The game manual. So they're currently working on updating the game manual for 2.0 and that experience. They want it to be user-friendly, but complexity is there if you want it, and it will be rewarding for looking up the extra controls, for working out the super crazy stuff that you can do in your ship. They want to be able to unify and improve the controls and have the learning curve there for people that want it. In regards to procedurally generated environments, the environments that are generated will be the same for everyone. Once they've been discovered, they're locked in, they're the same for everyone basically. They are procedurally generated, but that procedurally generated nature is based on the server seed, which will never change. Though changes enacted by players on such worlds, like mining, in the short term at least, would not be shared across all players. That kind of editing of worlds wouldn't be appropriate. The Starfarer's refueling mechanic is going to be ready by the time that it's flyable, and The Starfarer will be hangar ready, at least this month, in January. In Around the Verse Season 2, Episode 13, this week presented by Sandy Gardner and Erin Roberts, we found out another few little news nuggets. There may be some extra surprises and additions to the 2.1 live patch that should be coming next week. Over at CIG's Los Angeles studio, stability for 2.1 is their primary concern at the moment. They're getting issues hammered out with that as we speak. The Reliant, they are modelling damage in the landing gear. It's close. It's actually so close that it's moved into its texturing phase. The EVA system is currently being fine-tuned based off the feedback from the 2.1 PTU. Over at the Austin office, they're looking to do a pass on the Hurston landing zone layout. Tony wanted to revamp it. They're reviewing all of the hero locations to make sure that they're up to standard before passing them off to the white box phase. The ship animation team has made a wish list for projects they want to do, like landing sequence style guides, so that, for example, all MISC ships would fly and, well, land in a specific style. They're looking at variable seat heights for turrets, how you enter and exit cockpit animations based on situations. Relaxed, combat and emergency would all have different animations and speeds to them if you needed to enter or exit your ship in a hurry or if you were just chilling. Chris gave them an engineering task list and they're currently estimating and scheduling those tasks at the moment. Foundry 42 UK. They're trying to get the 2.1 build live as soon as possible. Chris and the writers are actually there in the studio at the moment, and they're planning to have a lot of guests this month. There is a lot of planning for them to do in the year ahead. Squadron 42 is coming out, so they need to get that done. Foundry 42 DE. The engineering teams are already making advancements with the procedural tech that we saw for the planets and all that sort of jazz. There's lots of roadmaps and, again, scheduling to be planned and is being planned at the moment. There was an ATV interview with Jeffrey Pease about his new role as a live ops technician. There was also an ATV behind the scenes, sneak peeky look at thing at Shubin. So Shubin is a 6-meter long mining base and it has huge lasers that mine asteroids that are basically tethered to the base. In this interview, they talk about style, props, and assets used for Shubin, and it must be said that Shubin is an important part of Squadron 42, as well as the Star Citizen universe. So check that out if you want to know more about Shubin and see that behind-the-scenes interview. MVP, this week's MVP, was the Noobifier for his video based on weapon sizes and hardpoints. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel, I will link it in the description below. He does similar stuff to what I do. No bullshit approach as quickly as possible. Good man, I like your style. And this week's art sneak peek was a picture of the MISC Reliant just before it enters its texturing phase. This week's Reverse the Verse gave us a few other little tiny news nuggets. This month's January subflare will be next week and it will be another part of the Puglisi collection. The new subflare series starts in March. The Reliant has finished modelling and is currently in its texture phase. The Drake Herald production was paused due to another project, but will be continuing shortly. HOTAS-wise, they are still waiting on some shipping information before those go into pre-order. The Starflower's first flyable release will only be the base Starfarer, not the Gemini. Tavaran's styling guides are currently being finished, and then they'll be able to start work on the Prowler concept. Freelancer, like the Constellation, is currently undergoing improvements and polish, so expect to see that improve drastically, or at least a bit, over the next few months. And finally, some more questions and answers were released for the Reliant FAQ, basically. We'll go over those in actual detail next week when the rest of them are fully out, and we'll compile them as they were released over many weeks. A link to all of that can be found in the description below. Anyway, guys, that's all we've got time for the news and weekly review this week. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help me. A massive thank you to all my Patreons. All you guys are awesome. And all of my viewers in general, you are literally the best of people. You're certainly in my best 35,000 people, which is coincidentally the amount of subs I have. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. You take care, and I will see you in the verse.